Soft, contemplative piano music begins. She sat across from me, the candlelight dancing in her eyes, and smiled. It was the same smile that had captured my heart a decade ago, the one that promised a lifetime of shared secrets and quiet understanding. But tonight, that smile felt different. It was a curtain, beautifully embroidered, hiding a stage where a tragedy was unfolding. I smiled back, a hollow echo of her own, my heart a leaden weight in my chest. I knew. I didn't know how I knew, but a gut-wrenching certainty had taken root. That smile, once a beacon, was now a mask. We were celebrating our 10th anniversary. 10 years. A whole decade of building a life together, brick by painstaking brick. I remembered our first apartment, so small we could barely turn around, but it felt like a palace because we were together. I remembered the late-night talks, the dreams we whispered into the darkness, the promises of forever that felt as solid as the ground beneath our feet. I looked at her, this woman who held my entire world in her hands, and saw a stranger. The laughter lines around her eyes, which I had traced so many times, now seemed to map out a story I wasn't a part of. The conversation was light, a dance of pleasantries about work, about friends, about the ridiculously expensive wine I'd ordered. "To us," she said, raising her glass. Her voice was smooth, melodic, betraying nothing. I clinked my glass against hers, the sound sharp and fragile in the restaurant's gentle hum. "To us," I repeated, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. My mind was a relentless movie projector, flashing images from the past few months. The late nights she claimed were work. The phone calls she'd take in the other room, her voice dropping to a murmur. The way she'd flinch ever so slightly when I'd reach for her hand. Each one had been a tiny paper cut, insignificant on its own. But now, they bled together, creating a wound too deep to ignore. I'd been a fool, I realized. A willing fool, so desperate to believe in the fairy tale that I'd ignored all the warning signs. I'd painted over the cracks, told myself it was stress. It was my own insecurity. It was anything but the one thing I couldn't bear to face. But denial is a flimsy shield, and mine had just shattered into a million pieces. She started talking about a future vacation, maybe to Italy, like we'd always dreamed. Her eyes lit up as she described Tuscan sunsets and ancient ruins, and for a moment, just a fleeting, painful moment, I let myself believe her. I saw it too. Us, walking hand in hand through cobblestone streets, sharing gelato, recapturing the magic we'd lost. But the image dissolved, replaced by the cold, hard truth. Who was she picturing with her on that trip? Was it me? Or was it someone else? A phantom presence at our table, his shadow falling over everything we had built. The waiter brought our main course. I stared down at the perfectly seared steak, my appetite gone. Every bite felt like chewing on gravel. She, on the other hand, ate with a delicate grace, complimenting the chef, completely at ease. The performance was flawless, a masterclass in deception. And in that moment my sadness began to curdle into a quiet, simmering anger. How could she do this? How could she sit here, celebrating a decade of our life, while simultaneously dismantling it? The audacity was breathtaking. I thought about confronting her right there and then, flipping the table, shouting the accusations that were clawing at my throat. I wanted to see the mask slip, to see the panic in her eyes, to force her to face the wreckage she was creating. But what would that accomplish? A public scene, a messy, undignified end to what was once a beautiful love story. No. Our beginning was private and filled with love. Our end deserved a quiet dignity, even if she didn't. So I played my part. I asked about her day. I laughed at her jokes. I was the loving husband, the other half of a perfect couple. But inside, I was meticulously packing up my heart, folding away the memories, and locking them in a room I would never visit again. I was grieving the loss of my wife, the loss of our future, right there in front of her, And she didn't even notice. She was too busy smiling. As we left the restaurant, she slipped her arm through mine. The familiar gesture felt alien, a violation. The warmth of her hand felt like a brand. "That was a lovely evening," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder for a moment. "Happy anniversary, my love." I looked up at the night sky, a vast, indifferent canvas of stars. "Happy anniversary," I replied, my voice steady, betraying none of the storm raging within me. The walk home was silent, but it was the loudest silence I had ever known. It was the sound of an ending. The secret she was hiding behind that beautiful, devastating smile hadn't destroyed everything yet. But I knew, as we walked toward the home we had built together, that it was only a matter of time. The fuse had been lit, and I was just waiting for the explosion. The story isn't over, not by a long shot. This was just the beginning of the end. If you've ever felt that chilling moment of realization, you know the journey that lies ahead. It's a path no one wants to walk, but sometimes it's the only way forward. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this community. If this story resonated with you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world and allows me to keep sharing these stories. We'll see you in the next one.